Please tell people that it was a fair fight and see what the jury and the judge think. Tell the world, Johnny. Tell them Johnny Depp.
Just when the world is gradually moving on from the intense Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard $50 million defamation suit, the former couple appear to be gearing up for a 2.0 trial. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard have set grounds for appeal, and as with their previous cases in the U.S. courts, the latter appears to have set herself up for yet another loss. What exactly does the appeal mean for both parties? Would Amber's new appeal strategy stand a chance of winning this time? On Tuesday, October 11, 2022, Amber Heard's legal team filed a court document outlining several grounds on which she intends to appeal her $10.5 million defamation judgment. The document, titled Appellant's Designation of Assignments of Error, was submitted to the Court of Appeals of Virginia in accordance with the Old Dominion Appellate Rule and proposed 16 grounds on why and how the actress hoped to appeal. In her first appeal designation, Amber Heard's attorneys pointed out that the court erred in declining to dismiss the action, and by implication, Heard's filing suggests the trial should have dismissed Depp's defamation lawsuit from the onset, as it belonged in a more appropriate place than North Virginia. Another controversial point in the appeal was that the Fairfax, Virginia court should have allowed the November 2, 2020 ruling by the UK court into evidence. It also stated that the court erred by not foreclosing Depp's claims after losing a similar libel lawsuit in the UK. Furthermore, the filing questioned the court's decision to take a news headline at face value, thereby denying Heard's team the motion to strike. The filing suggests the court should not have honored the jury's verdict with regard to the conclusion that Heard actually published the sentence, "I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change." The trial court, which rejected proposed jury instruction CC, improperly instructed the jury on actual malice, the filing further stated. You'll recall that the former couple concluded their long-running defamation trial that wreaked havoc throughout the world and on social media, with Heard losing the case and being ordered to pay her ex-husband about $10.5 million in damages by the 7-person jury. As expected, Heard refused to accept this verdict, exhausting several strategies to have it revoked. First, she filed a countersuit against Depp, which she won, but that only earned her $2 million in damages from her ex, which was only a fraction of the sum she was expected to cough up. She also pushed against Judge Penney ruling, even putting forward a request to declare a mistrial and hold a new one. Her mistrial request centered around the belief that the process was flawed because one man from the 7-person jury failed to be present, sending his son, who shared the same name, to impersonate him instead. Unsurprisingly, Judge Askren failed to acknowledge Heard's request, insisting there was no evidence of fraud or wrongdoing. And now Amber Heard seems to be coming straight for the Virginia judge's head with her new appeal strategy. Amber Heard's appeal designation is, however, now suggesting that Depp's former attorney, Adam Waldman, had malicious intentions toward Amber when he made his allegedly defamatory statement against her during the U.S. trial. At the time, Heard's attorney Ben Rottenborn said of Waldman's labeling the actress's abuse claims a fraud, saying, "Defending yourself through judicially immune statements in a lawsuit entitles someone to go out and say whatever they want to avail themselves of privilege." Although Waldman has since been fired and is no longer part of Johnny Depp's lawyers, Heard's legal team insists his statements represents Depp's thoughts and hence his act of defamation against his ex-wife. Reacting to the suggestions that Waldman had malicious intentions, one Twitter user commented, "I don't understand how they could think that Adam Waldman made his statement with actual malice. Adam Waldman believed with every fiber of his being that the statements are correct. So how could they say that he knew it was not true? He believes all of that to be true." "As do I," another fan chimed in. "Based on what we were told in testimony, it was the truth. He believed what he was saying because it is what happened. That isn't defamation or malice. When one speaks the truth, how can anyone claim defamation or malice?" Meanwhile, Depp's 3-point filing maintained that Waldman acted of his own volition as an independent contractor, and his defamatory statements in no way reflected Johnny's thoughts, words, or actions. The filing also cited several evidentiary issues, including the court's failure to admit Heard's medical records, ensuing interactions with her medical experts, and communications with third parties into evidence. Another designation condemned the court's admittance of evidence related to Heard's pledge to donate money to charity and alleged abuse of third parties, while rejecting evidence related to Depp's reputation before and after the published op-ed. The 16 points of appeal may point to actual occurrences that happened during the trial. We certainly think centering them around the judge's verdict somehow terms the entire trial proceedings as partial. Given the high likelihood of the appeal court turning down such appeal pleas that seemingly target the judge, Amber Heard may not stand a chance. In fact, many Depp supporters are convinced she lost the case even before it began. One tweeted, "Okay, I'm not a lawyer, but pretty much all of that was already dealt with. I don't think she stands a chance unless someone is pulling strings high up." While another added, "These all seem to be very baseline arguments to me. Of course, I'm not a lawyer, so who knows?" Some Amber supporters, however, pointed out that with the likes of David L. Axelrod and J. Ward Brown of Ballard Spahr making up Heard's appellate counsel, another loss is highly unlikely for the Rum Diary alum. Social media predictions aside, the Virginia Supreme Court has previously explained the importance of filing an appeal document ahead of the appellate brief. The explanation suggests appellants were expected to point out errors with proper evidence and documentation. So while we're keeping our fingers crossed in anticipation of what trick Heard and her team may have in store for the world in the appeal case, let's dive into some of her proposed grounds for appeal. Shortly after the ruling that awarded Depp $10.5 million in damages in the Fairfax, Virginia court, it wasn't long until the Pineapple Express actress Amber Heard filed her notice of intent to appeal the verdict. Per her move, her ex-husband Johnny Depp also almost immediately followed suit, notifying the court of his intent to appeal the $2 million awarded against him following Heard's countersuit. More like a game of tic-tac-toe amongst these ex-lovers, don't you say? The actress, who seems to have it in for the presiding judge, Judge Askerid, over her and Depp's $50 million defamation suit, has laid all 16 points listed in her appeal targeted at the ruling of the judge at the trial, where she massively lost against her ex-spouse, Depp. While her approach seems like an innocent move to snag herself a second chance at a fair trial, basing appeal points on a judge's ruling isn't always a great idea, as one Twitter user pointed out. "I'm no lawyer, but nearly all her grounds seem to be disagreeing with Judge Askerid's rulings, and appeal courts are very reluctant to interfere with any of that unless blatant errors were made that would have ultimately changed the verdict." Well, in this case, it appears as though no errors were made, as the court clarified for good in June after dismissing Heard's mistrial request. Coupled with the intensity of the social media jury chanting against her, the Rum Diary actress's cause isn't looking very good at the moment. Another Twitter user explained that one could, in fact, base their appeals only on a judge's ruling like Amber did, with few exceptions. In such cases, however, the appealing party would be prepared to prove the judge's ruling was erroneous, with reasonable evidence. Yep, the appeal is actually against the judge's ruling in the court, if she made errors regarding the trial. But these errors must be so bad that they would have changed the outcome of the trial, and there weren't such decisions made by Judge A. So yeah, an appeal is hard to win. This then makes fans wonder why Amber chose to go down this path, with some speculating that either her legal team aren't adequately advising her as a client, or the Aquaman actress has an ace up her sleeve. By all means, Amber Heard appears to have complied with the necessary criteria for filing an appeal. As to what the future has in store for the 36-year-old at the end of the road, time will tell. Does Amber Heard's appeal case deserve its day in court? Are her appeal designations solid enough to guarantee victory against her ex-husband in the controversial trial? Share your thoughts in the comment section.